Well, here's a Civ you don't see much of at the moment. It almost feels like everyone's just avoiding them like they're the plague because, I don't know if it's paranoia around, like, if you do it, someone might just quit and think you're doing the exploits, or just, you know, until it's actually had its ridiculous exploits fixed, no one wants to touch it. They want to wait. But so far, we really haven't been seeing that much Abbasid, right? So it's actually quite exciting that we not only get to see Abbasid, but we get to see it versus Abbasid. And we get to see it with two players that are quite exciting to watch. Iaguz has been on this channel many times. Simtom, I think he was on the channel in the first week. I believe he had a game against Tato, and that was an England versus France matchup. But since then, he actually hasn't frequented too often on this channel. Actually, at all, I don't think. And it's kind of because he hasn't been playing that many games, actually. When I pull up Simtom's account, Simtom is currently sitting 74th, but he only has 84 games played. Now, I don't know if he has a Smurf, but from that, you can tell that he hasn't been playing that many games regardless, right? Like 84 at this stage in the game with how long it's been out. Yeah, it's fair to say that Simtom's not full-time on this game. And that's not a surprise. Simtom, I think he had like small 20 earnings, like maybe a few $100s worth. But that was it. It wasn't this big fud of cash that allows you to go full-time. Yeah, I'm just double-checking. So between Age of Mythology, AoE 2, and AoE 4, he has earned $441. Right? Now, that's not to write him off as a player. He's definitely got some talent. Must do to be in the top 100 quite frequently. But that's to say that's the reason why he's not playing Rapido 8 games a day every day like other players are, right? It's not his full-time gig, clearly. Guz, on the other hand, I think he actually started streaming more recently. I occasionally kept checking. I remember the early days I kept checking, but he never seemed to have streams up. But it looks like Guz is getting back to streaming now. So if you guys want to see that lad in action, I believe I did see him live the other day, although I can't seem to find him upon Googling. Yes, it's going to be Iaguz SC2. And he does stream a reasonable amount. So, like, actually, the last few days, he's been streaming basically every day. So you can catch him there. You can see the HRE master, as we call him, at work. But let's see if he can master the Abbasids. Because opening-wise, fairly similar, right? Like, I don't think any of... No, neither of them went onto the bushes. Kind of surprising. I think I've talked about this a lot, but genuinely, if you're playing Abbasid Dynasty, go on the berry bushes. They're so valuable. They're so amazing because you almost match the sheep rates. I think it's slightly less efficient than sheep by like 0.02 gather speed, food per second, right? So it's kind of an inconsequential difference. And the difference is that then if your opponent early harasses you, you always have this safety net of the sheep under your TC layer. But I think their mindset is we're both playing Abbasid Dynasty. It's unlikely that we're going to get pressured early because I know I can't pressure him early. So let's just sit back, reap the rewards of harvesting sheep organs, and then fight it out in the Castle Age / Feudal Age, right? So scouting will occur. So far, looks like Guz hasn't looked into what his opponent is doing at all. And it looks like it is going to be Eco Wing on, I want to say both sides. Yes, it is going to be both sides. Now, this is interesting because I think the last time we saw the Abbasid Dynasty versus Abbasid Dynasty matchup was probably in the opening week or two of release. And back then, actually, we saw one of the players utilize Military Wing to great effect to pressure and just win the game in Feudal because of the power of Camel Support. I think Camel Support is like an interesting concept. It only really has its relevance if you are going for like a rush strategy. And someone we have been seeing falling off pretty hard is the early rush strategies around Rams. And if you're not going Rams, like you're probably not rushing to end the game quickly. You're probably looking for halfway through Feudal into Castle Age timing, right? So at that point, why rush Military Wing? You could potentially get it as a second tech. I think there's still some things that need to be tweaked around camels before it becomes viable, though. I think once they've tweaked Abbasid Dynasty, and then, you know, like obviously they fixed camel barding recently, but when they give camel archers a more satisfactory role in the game, I think we might start seeing Military Wing as a tech up into Castle. But until that happens, it's just always going to be eco into culture. And even past that, it's quite frequently trade, right? And hope that changes. I mean, the kind of crazy thing is, like, how often I've seen trade, even then when people aren't bothering to go into marketplaces. It's almost like they want to give themselves that insurance policy in case a 30-minute game turns into an hour game and they have to go into the marketplace, right? But if you're looking to end it within that kind of 35-minute mark, then yeah, Military Wing into Imp is usually the go. And now straight into Fuel. So already getting up in there, foodstuff's starting to be researched. That gives Guz a slight advantage. Just remember Simtom He's a little bit behind in that regard. In terms of Golden Age, yeah, I believe Simtom's triggered his, but Guz hasn't. So this evens up the advantage, actually. Kind of a cool detail, right? That extra 10% will matter a lot when they're on equal eco. In fact, Guz is just one villager behind right now. Wait, did he go for... No, it's just a little bit stunned. I thought he maybe went for a second military unit. It's just slightly stunned. But Guz is looking to speed this up. He's going into the second TC, but he's not alone. Simtom is doing the exact same thing. You see him gathering the stone. The problem is that Guz actually done this correctly. He got the required amount of wood first, so he's already going for that second TC drop. But he's aggressively placing it forward. What? All right, I thought maybe he was going to go for... This would have been a huge value, right? Stone plus the gold. But he's going to go for the deer location, prioritizing food. He went far out with this TC, so he's going to be delayed getting it out. And Simtom, he's going to go for that tight TC. So he's going to keep a protected economy. Guz going for a little bit of a gamble here. I think his players probably to move forward and wall this off. He does have vision on this pass here. And then just prioritize vision around the center so he can't be flanked here. That way his expansion, his greedy expansion far away from his main, isn't going to be easily punished. Now, the whole purpose of this type of expansion, by the way, is obviously the most clear thing is, oh, it's next to a deer place and a wood line. It's very efficient from that point in terms of value. There's a second layer of efficiency to consider here. Unless you plan to go full farmland around your main TC, the problem with having all your TC stacked close together is while it's great for the first 15-20 minutes, if you then ever have to move out to further away gold veins, stone outcroppings, wood lines, whatever, villages don't move very quick, remember. They move at 1.12 tiles per second, right? And people don't tend to get wheelbarrow, as we've seen so many times just being neglected and not picked up in these games, which means that if you have to move your villagers from, say, this gold vein all the way over to this gold vein, that is a lot of wasted time where your villagers just aren't netting you resources. And that is why he's doing this. And then also the markup. Wow. Okay, so this actually might be a trade wing Castle Age, which is something that I haven't seen at all. Like, seriously, out of all the games I've watched, not a single time has an Abbasid player chosen trade wing as their tech up for tech free. But it's looking like that's the way it's going. So while he goes to TC's marketplace, his opponent is now dropping the third TC. Simtom going for that very stacked eco. It looks like Guz's concept is he wants to play a loose economy where he walls off and controls the midpoints on the map, while Simtom is looking for a stacked high economy, prioritizing farmlands in the immediate vicinity of his TCs where it's protected. It's really cool to watch because it's basically two differing approaches to Abbasids, and it's more or less influenced by this map generation, right? Where Guz thinks he'll be able to control these choke points, whereas Simtom is just going for like tried and true standard for Abbasid Dynasty players, which is just a tight formation of town centers. And I look forward to seeing which one's going to win out. So Trip Marketplace, full in on the trade. Yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about then. Guz is anticipating that Trade Wing is going to be worth. And you can see why, right? Like you get Spice Roads alone, increase the gold by 30%. And then also, if you need it, you can get Armored Caravans if you're worried about them being harassed. But it's just about Spiced Roads. Spice Roads, not Spiced. More importantly. And then later on, of course, you can always go into the Grand Bazaar. And that allows you to just scale much better. So I like Guz's opening if he wants to go into like an Imperial Age timing. But Simtom is stacked for the Castle Age timing. Look at this. 4 TCs now to the 2. And Guz just shows no signs of matching this, right? And how would he? He's going for full marketplaces. And remember, these traders, although a little bit cheaper, they're 50 wood and 50 gold each. So you wouldn't be able to easily get the required wood economy to support them. So Guz, much more delayed to boom is how this is going to work with the trade. But if he hits the timing, if he's unharassed, if Simtom sits back and does not pressure, it can pay off. The question is whether Simtom is going to do exactly that, because he's dropping the racks right now. Archery ranges as well. This suggests to me is it's going to be immediate early pressure as soon as he techs up. In fact, I'm not even sure if Simtom's thinking about teching up. He might try and pressure in feudal and then just naturally get up into the Castle Age later, which I like the idea of. And they're both walling. Oh, what? Okay, so this is going to be a Castle Age wait. He's not going to build units until Castle. Guz is trying to wait even longer than he is. And they're going to realize it as well as they both walk out and start building walls. So they know exactly what both of them are doing. And it's going to be interesting to see if this changes the prioritization for either of them, right? Because this now means that you're in this situation where, well, if you're Simtom, you've got 4 military buildings down. You can start to spam out military units to pressure your opponent, which is why he waypoints them over and starts building the spearmen. right? Meanwhile, Guz, he might now be forced to pivot into a military building so that he has some sort of protection. Because right now, he's actually completely naked here. And that's why that wall going down was more important for him than it was for Simtom. I don't know what these walls are. It's like when you're considering just building a penis out of palisade walls, but then get distracted halfway through. Not even halfway. Yeah, guys, this isn't full halfway. If your penis looks like this, consult a doctor, okay? Good talk. So Scout sees the Spearman. And this is Problem Town. Because look how exposed his trade route's going to be. And they are worth 175 gold each. So he tries to drag their attention away. And Simtom... Oh my god, it was so close to seeing it! And Simtom hasn't bothered to scout out recently, remember? He's kept it central. So Guz dodges a bullet here. Simtom, however, is almost ready for a tech up, but Guz is already underway, and it is going to be the trade wing. He wants to double up the value he's getting, but he needs to get military soon. So Scout is going to die now. Walls are going to go down. Simtom thinks that he's being big brain about this, but it's not. Because he doesn't have the vision, he doesn't realize that his opponent is so exposed that he could genuinely end the game now. And that's going to buy time. The time is going to be used to build these archery ranges now. So Simtom just cracks the amount of resources required to go for the tech up, going for the culture wing, not going for the military wing. Remember, we said it's usually eco into culture. But this is what's going to catch him off guard. He's probably going to think Guz is matching him, but the difference is like he has a military force, so he can just get away with this. And he's TC boomed to a ridiculous degree. I mean, who expects 4 TCs, right? I mean, it's Abbasid. You should definitely expect 4 TCs. But the trade caravan alone, I mean, how many are we up to now? This is absurd. This is such a great idea from Guz. I can't praise it enough, actually. Like, 20 traders. 20. Now, I know what I said about how trade is a late-game benefactor, right? You don't usually invest in it heavy early on. But if you were going to do it, like, the reason I'm never convinced it's good early game is probably this. It's probably because people drop one marketplace. But you have somewhat convinced me of the merits with 4 marketplaces just generating constant traders. Because the thing that you have to keep in mind is this is saving him so much on the villager front, right? Like these traders, they take a bit longer than villagers to produce, but he's ramping out so quickly because he has 4. It means that if you look at it, Guz is getting more gold, and he has 0 people working on gold right now. That's the state of the game. And that allows him to just get so much wood, which he's probably going to look to convert into siege weapons, I'd imagine. But for now, he just builds in the barracks, and now he's going to get into the men-at-arms. He's beaten his opponent to the castle age. He gets the announcement of that. And Simtom has to realize he's a bit behind, and he might start to back up. If anything, he needs to get someone out and probably Stonewall. The problem is that he just doesn't have the resources. And I don't know if he wants to pull people away from what they're doing right now to gather stone. But you have to be a little bit paranoid, right? Like, you knew you had the military influence there when your opponent didn't fight you in the center. But now you know he's going to have the first trickle of units out. And you have to assume that he's built enough military infrastructure to keep up with you. So the only way you're going to be able to race forward with him is if you build more. And that's what he's doing right now. All the while, the trade just continues. Guys, this guy, I love him, dude. No matter what Civ Guz is playing, he finds a way to exploit the economy for gold, right? Genuinely, this man, he is Goldfinger. He's Goldfinger in Age of Empires Incarnate, right? He loves the feel of it. He loves the touch of it. He loves the smell of it. He has to have more. Whether he's playing HRE, Abbasid Dynasty, I think we've seen him cheese it a little bit with Roos in the past. It's all about the moonies. The moolah makes the world go round and will allow him to now start building those spring mills. Because remember, we said he has amazing wood economy right now, doubling up that of Simtom. Simtom is very heavy into the squishies, right? Heavy into the food. As you can see, he's doubling up Guz in that regard. And while Simtom is staying ahead at the moment on the gold front, it's mainly because of how, he's built, right? Like, these villagers are going to gather gold quicker, but in the long term, trade's going to just constantly be there for Guz. And he's always going to have these gold veins to fall back on if need be. I just love the different concept as well. It's almost like I'm just watching genuinely like a StarCraft player's idea of like the game versus an Age of Empires, an Age of Mythology player's idea of the game, right? Because from Simtom's perspective, it's all about this finite resource and how quickly I can tap into it and turn it into a force, right? For Guz, it's almost like he's coming from StarCraft. He's just looked at this game and gone, wait, you can get infinite of a resource? That's broken, dude. We have limited resources in StarCraft. It dries up. I'm going to take all that infinite resource, yeah. And then I never have to worry about reallocating lines or anything like that. It's just constant trade. Or constant trickling from relics, right? And all these type of things that we know he loves to do. Well, we did say it would set him up better for an Imperial Age timing. But you can already see the walls are down. There's going to be a fight in the Castle Age. And not as many man-at-arms as Guz would have liked. He has got 3 Springolds. He's not fighting with them just yet, though. So cancel one of them out and try to start sniping out these man-at-arms. Needs to be careful. He is outnumbered here. He's trickling out more troops, and he's on the home field and building more Springolds. He needs to block these attacks, though. And look, finally, Simtom, he gets the tip-off. He's like, oh, wait. He's been trading this whole time? Problem that I have for Guz right now is crossbowman on one side, but not on the other, is going to be the difference maker here, right? The man-at-arms going to get shredded quickly. So he has to keep funneling them out as quickly as possible. The problem is that Simtom, he's increased this infrastructure now up to 5 racks? Yeah, 5 racks and 2 archery ranges. And that's why, look at the spam. Right now, Guz dropping 5 additional racks. So Springolds still being chased. Holding his ground for the moment, but remember, his economy is being exposed, right? You can already see the man-at-arms chasing on the traders now. And they're going to run it all the way to where it came from. And although Simtom is starting to be repelled, Guz now has problems, right? Like, the front line has been set, and it's in his base. The front line is genuinely in his back line. And that's a problem. Springle's now moving in. Hasn't constructed enough his own yet. And his owner just getting sniped out quickly here. He's starting to build a few scouts out. He needs more. He needs it fast. He's lost so many traders here. To a few man-at-arms, the damage they have done. Oh, and all that effort built up by Guz, a nice idea, but just not the military to support it. And Simtom, now up to 5 Springolds. The pressure is on, my friend. Guz trying to build them up as quickly as possible to match his opponent. Has a huge surplus of gold, but just no way of spending it quick enough. Man-at-arms just trying to get onto that crossbow line. That's the critical detail. And then we'll move straight into the Springolds. But every time these fights go out, every time it stalemates into a draw, the difference is at the end, there is just more of these traders' corpses laying on the ground. And there we go. Finally, Guz realizes he needs a transition. He's building trip archery range. Trying to get his opponent out of his base. Like, leave me the hell alone. But when he sees this many men-at-arms coming in again, you have to feel like you're in trouble. And Guz, although he has good income, I don't know how long it's going to last when you consider how many of these caravans got sniped out, right? He's going to get slowed down somewhat. And look at that battering ram now drop. Simtom just looking to actually get through the infrastructure next. Man-at-arms trying to chase on the traders, but remember, traders, man-at-arms. Although man-at-arms is a little bit faster, it's not that much faster. And with the Springolds being rebuilt, Simtom's a bit paranoid. He wants to just get these battering rams up quickly. He understands the only way he's going to win this is now and taking out infrastructure. When you see these trade lines, you know that your opponent has plenty of resources in reserve, as well as having like fallback points, right? Because he probably hasn't touched his gold veins. And that is why Simtom's on the clock, and that is why he looks to ramp up the pressure as he does get the battering rams out. And they just move straight towards the Springolds. Man-at-arms, ignoring the melee. Crossbowmen say, I'll clean these up. You go deal with the real problem at the back. And well, Guz, you see how many Springolds he's queued up, but he's just outnumbered. I think this is all but done. I mean, with the battering rams now moving in, and with you being matched on the military front, piece for piece in terms of man-at-arms, and outnumbered on the crossbow front, Guz just seems a little bit lost. He's going to continue to lose traders, and once these crossbowmen are in position to stop you getting through anymore, I think that's the moment you just surrender it over. I mean, nice idea by Guz. I love the concept around going for trade, but I think we talked about the weakness, and we've actually got to see it visually once again play out from concept to execution, which is it's an amazing idea, but it pushes you on a later game timing, and if your opponent ever spots it, you will be punished, as Simtom just proved.